Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am Nasr al-Dikair from ITFC, and I have the honor to be your host today. I welcome you to this important webinar to introduce the AATB's investment pillar to financial institutions and partners, which is brought to you by the Islamic Corporation for Insurance of Investment and Export Credit, ISEC, the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation, ITFC, and the Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector, ICD, in collaboration with ISDB Group Business Forum, TEPA. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. This is a live webinar where only the speakers and presenters will be able to turn on their mics and cameras. However, the participants can and are welcomed to submit their questions by clicking on the Q&A icon on Zoom. Not only that, if you are accessing the webinar through YouTube live streaming, you can also submit your questions in the chat section, as you can see in the slide in front of you. This webinar consists of two main parts. First, an opening ceremony with keynote addresses, as we have very knowledgeable and engaging array of CEOs today, and it will be a real opportunity to benefit from their collective experience and knowledge. Secondly, we will have well-informed technical sessions by the IDB Group private sector entities, as well as the IDB itself. And it will end up with open discussion to respond to the various questions which are going to be received from the audience during the webinar. The main objective of the webinar is to introduce the investment pillar related to the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program, AATB, and to present the main objectives and benefits of the AATB program. Through this webinar, we have invited the financial institutions and partners with common objectives to develop partnerships by fostering the development of the Arab and African countries. The aim is to invite the financial institutions and partners to become members in the program, as well as, more importantly, to benefit from different services available and potential opportunities that the AATB program offers. We are thrilled to note the involvement of more than 1,000 participants who registered and are attending in both Zoom and YouTube streaming, including development institutions, sovereign funds, banks, investment and private equity firms, as well as key government and corporate sector representatives. Before we hit it off, we have a short video about the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program that we wish that you enjoy. Sahel, let's have the video. Thank you, and thank you for the team for this very engaging yet powerful video. Now, as you may be aware, the AATB program is a program composed of four main pillars that include insurance, trade, investment, as well as infrastructure, with the sole purpose of enhancing trade and revive trade rather between the Arab and African regions, building on the historic relations that existed between both of these regions. And the role cannot be more important these days than what we are witnessing and living in the post-COVID-19 era, where countries need to focus more on regional connections and regional relations to drive growth together. Now, no trade can happen if it was not for insurance. Insurance of exports and insurance of investment is a key enabler and facilitator of trade. That's why I have the honor of introducing His Excellency Mr. Osama Qaisi, CEO of ISIC, to deliver his keynote speech. Your Excellency, the virtual stage is yours. Mr. Osama?
Thank you, Nasser. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. His Excellency CEO of ITFC Hani Salim Sumbul, His Excellency CEO ICD Ayman Sijini, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am excited to welcome you to today's webinar where we will be discussing the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program, widely referred to as AATB. It is my honor to provide a few keynote remarks at the opening, as we are grateful to have so many industry leaders joining the session to learn more about the program and how to get involved. We hope you find this webinar both informative and valuable. ISIC is proud to be a founding member of AATB program, as pursuant of Arab and African interregional collaboration is foundational to the corporation's own mission and values. ISIC has long supported the deepening strategic alliances in trade and investment within OIC member states, as the corporation has 47 member countries throughout Africa, the Middle East, Central and Southeast Asia, and South America. In our over 26 years history of providing risk insurance solutions for trade and investment, ISIC has seen tremendous results that are possible through the collaboration and partnerships. Additionally, ISIC has long advocated for the value of fostering strategic South-South cooperation. We believe that through these trades and investment partnerships, countries can become stronger, more unified, and better positioned to reach their developmental goals. ISIC's focus on meaningful collaboration and strategic trade partnerships naturally aligns with the objectives of the AATB. As such, the corporation is delighted to be part of this multi-donor, multi-country, and multi-organizational program that supports trade development in our member countries and beyond. ISIC has seen firsthand the great potential of the AATB program, closing upward of $5.6 billion worth of transactions through the program over the last 10 years. This amount is almost 9% of ISIC's business insured during this period, making the AATB program a crucial part of our business operation. Now, you would agree with me, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to challenge economies across the globe, multilateral programs such as the AATB have become more important than ever. On our own, ISIC has implemented over $350 million in financial resources to mitigate risk and to combat the health and socioeconomic effects of COVID-19 in our member countries. However, it is through partnerships that we can truly help and show the impact of our transactions. ISIC has worked throughout the pandemic to foster relationships and to forge meaningful partnerships that help increase our capacity and tackle these crises and its repercussions. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the corporation has worked with the Islamic Development Bank Group to create and implement the Strategic Preparedness and Response Program and the innovative $2 billion COVID guarantee facility that was signed with the Islamic Development Bank President, His Excellency Dr. Bandar Hajjar. Furthermore, the corporation entered into cooperation with the Islamic Solidarity Fund for Development, creating the ISEC ISFT COVID-19 Emergency Response Initiatives called ISERI. Through ISERI, ISEC has been able to subsidize the premium on insurance cover to facilitate the procurement of essential commodities such as medicine, medical equipment, and food supplies to eligible countries. These collaborative responses have provided value to all partners and have given support to countless citizens in the beneficiary countries. Despite the tragedy presented by the pandemic, these unprecedented times have brought developmental institutions together to seek solutions and encourage innovation, teaching us that the best way forward is together. ISEC believes that through the multilateral collaboration of AATB program, we can enhance pandemic responses and capacity building efforts, magnifying them significantly. Through AATB, eligible countries and member institutions can rise to the challenge of the pandemic by developing mutually beneficial trade and investment opportunity. The AATB program has been hard at work through the pandemic to find unique solutions and provide support to each of our member countries' specific needs. Our efforts have resulted in impactful projects delivered at various levels throughout AATB member countries. For our part, ISEC has worked closely with businesses, financial institutions, government partners in AATB countries, and not to say the least, our sister entities that they will be talking to you today during this program to provide insurance solutions that meet pandemic responses need. We at ISEC are serious about our role in supporting AATB's COVID-19 recovery work, leading the insurance pillar, promoting synergies and partnership, and ensuring transaction origination and continuous deal flows. Given this role, we know there is ample room for future partnership between AATB member countries and those interested in joining this important work. The success of these partnerships will be critical to economic recovery following the pandemic. We invite you today to join us and join ICD and ITFC as well and the ISDB group in learning more about collaborating with this exciting opportunity, and we look forward to sharing more information about the benefits of this program. I thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Your Excellency Hussam Al-Qaisi, for your keynote speech and your very valuable remarks regarding the role of partnerships and the need for everybody to come together, be it insurers, financiers, or investment banks, to come together to see to it that we reach the goals together of the AATB and the recovery and benefits for our member countries in a post-COVID-19 era. Now, the essence of the AATB program is trade, and no one is more qualified to talk about trade than ITFC and His Excellency Engineer Hani Salim Sumbul, CEO of the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation, ITFC, whom I invite to deliver his keynote address. Your Excellency, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you, Nasser. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear Excellencies, CEOs of IDB group entities, IDB representatives, guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me, an honor to have an opportunity today to address the honorable guests attending with us this important webinar. I would like to thank and welcome each one of you for allocating the time to know more about the most effective regional programs, the Arab-Africa Trade Bridge Program, which aims at enhancing trade and investment in the African continent and between the African and Arab region. I see this opportunity To extend my thanks to the Islamic Cooperations for Development of Private Sector, ICD, and IATB Group Business Forum, FIQA, for organizing this webinar, in collaborations with the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Management Unit, to introduce to you the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program and its different pillars, and mainly the investment one. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, since its inception in 2017, the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program has been launched to promote and increase the trade and investment between the African and the Arab member countries, as well as provide support to trade finance and export credit insurance facilities, and enhancing existing capacities, tools relating to trade and investment. Furthermore, the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program is geared toward increasing economic integration and support sustainable growth across Arab and African countries. Specifically, the Arab African Trade Bridge Program works on promoting and facilitating investments promotion efforts, which are focusing on the different sectors with high added value, especially in the industries that rely on the more highly skilled workforce, and also on those which can promote greater investment and knowledge diffusion. Excellencies, distinguished guests, our gathering today comes under a very special circumstances that are affecting the entire world. In fact, the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the world economic growth as well as the world investment flows. According to UNCTAD's Investments Trends Monitor, published on the 24th of January of this year, the global foreign direct investment has fallen by 42%, from 1.5 trillion in 2019 to an estimated 859 billion in 2020. However, a game changer and hope for Africa developed has emerged. The African Continent Free Trade Area, the African CFTA, was launched on the 1st of January 2021, after its ratifications by more than 30 countries. The African CFTA, which will be a catalyst for accelerating trade and investment in Africa, is at the beginning and will gradually be implemented. This world's biggest free trade agreement after the WTO is expected to boost African trade, but also inter-regional trade in manufacturing goods. According to the World Bank estimates 2020, that within the increase of the total exports by almost 29% relative to business as usual, manufacturing exports would gain the most, with an intra-African manufacturing trade increasing by 110% and manufacturing exports to the rest of the world rising by 46%. Furthermore, it is estimated that with the implementation of the AFCFTA, the volume of intra-African trade will increase by 81% by the year 2035, and the volume of total African export will increase by 29%. While the role of the member states would be to ensure the necessary enablers to comply with the African CFTA requirements, it is up to the private sector in Africa to unleash the trade and investment potentials offered by the new area. Furthermore, the implementations of the African CFTA would also have a positive effect on foreign direct investment, FDIs, especially in the manufacturing and services sectors, as a foreign investment would tap into a continental market. To this end, the role of the international and regional multilateral financial and developmental institution is crucial to provide the adequate support and platform to seize the mentioned opportunities. In this regard, investments has been identified as one of the main Arab-Africa Trade Bridge Program pillars, along with the trade and insurance and infrastructure. The Arab-Africa Trade Bridge Program, strengthened by its member countries and institutions, represent an ideal platform to accommodate an initiative aiming at boosting trade and investment in a continent like Africa. The COVID-19 changed actually the nature of the focus of the different perspectives. As you all know, the pandemic has affected negatively the economies of the African and Arab countries. The role of the program has emerged in this particular time through a contingency plan for the benefit of member countries, especially African ones. Why? Because we want to support them overcome the negative impact, especially in the health and food sector. For example, the Arab Africa Trade Program has launched the partnership with Africa Exim Bank and the African Organization Standards, ARSO, the program on harmonization of African standards in the pharmaceutical and medical devices, which will not only enhance the continent health resilience, but will also have a major impact on the opening up of prospects for investments and trade in the medium and long term. The importance of this program takes a bigger dimension in facilitating the trade and investment in pharmaceutical sector under the African CFTA. Excellencies, distinguished guests, we are very confident that our webinar will achieve the desired objectives by exploring the opportunities of partnership under the Arab Africa Trade Program to implement direct investment for our member countries, in particular the least developed one, and by developing the existing relationship between the Arab African Trade Bridge and various investment institutions. Finally, I repeat my appreciations and thanks to the leaders of the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Pillar, Thiqa and AATB management team for organizing the webinar. Wishing you all a success and thank you for your attention. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. We thank His Excellency Hani Salim Sumbul, CEO of ITFC, for his keynote address that contained a lot of information that clarifies the potential that Africa and Arab African Trade Bridges Program has, specifically as it relates to investments that would facilitate trade. Because we all know that no trade or insurance can happen without proper investments in place on both sides, the exporter side, the importer side, as well as the logistic providers in the middle. Therefore, for our next keynote address, I want to welcome His Excellency Mr. Ayman Sajini, CEO of the Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector, ICD, to deliver his keynote address. Your Excellency, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa-salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad. I hope you see me clearly. I'm not sure because I don't see myself on the screen, to be honest with you.
We see you clearly.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa-salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Dear sisters, brothers, and representatives of our existing and potential partners, distinguished participants, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. We all hope that all of you keep safe and healthy, and we pray to Allah to root our COVID-19 pandemic and prevent such disaster in the future. The AATB is a multi-donor, multi-country, and multi-institutional program, and we are proud of being of this initiative. Introduction is a very important part of what we need to give as a background. The Arab African Trade Bridge Program initiatives aims to address some of the challenges faced in promoting trade and investment between the two regions and developing intra-regional business partnership. The volume of intra-regional trade and investment is still modest, and there are ample untapped opportunities to further develop regional trade, insurance, investment, and infrastructure that will be produced continuously and greatly increase the economic growth and employment for Arab and African countries. ICD, being the private sector arm of Islamic Development Bank, will lead the investment pillar of AATB program, which aims to mobilize and allocate resources to impact the investment in Arab and African countries, including recovering package to overcome negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Based on the current economic landscape in the target countries, the primary sector where this program is impacted will be felt the most will be in the manufacturing, agriculture, input and health, and pharmaceutical industry. Yet the program is dynamic enough to accommodate additional building blocks to achieve its objectives. ICD will continue playing both direct and a catalyst role in supporting the private sector development. In recent years, MDBs have reached out to sovereign fund investment and private equity companies, insurance companies, and to the wider public to deal with the most pressing issues and development priorities, such as unequal opportunity, poverty, unemployment, education, health, sanity, and food security, energy, global warming, and climate change, and recently COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 pandemic made it even more clear that resources of our multilateral financial institutions are not sufficient to address needs of their member countries, but it's also highlighted their great capacity in harmonizing the actions and mobilizing resources and directing them toward the most urgent priorities. In line with our global approach, we aim to expand our existing partnership and building new partnership with financial institutions to design and launch special financial packages for the benefit of member countries under the umbrella of the AATB program. ICD, being the private sector arm of the Islamic Development Bank, believes in the great potential of the private sector to achieve sustainable development and improve millions of lives across the world. ICD is an advocate of international collaboration for development. At the same time, we believe regional cooperation and globalization are essential foundation of the great international collaboration. The fact that become even more evident by the occurrence of COVID-19 pandemic and disbursement of the global value chain. In fostering socioeconomic development, we give utmost importance to sustainability and partnership to maximize flow of capital to the most needed impactful investments. We encourage and support the private sector, investors who want to do well and to do good. We believe in partnering with local, regional, and multilateral financial institutions is a key to leveraging on their deep market knowledge and outreach to serve the private sector. We have 30 member countries among the Arab and African countries, which for most and significant part of our portfolio, including our direct contribution or our investments through our local regional FI partners. ICD has approved more than 345 million facilities for 26 private sector projects in 18 Arab and African countries. We have developed resources to establish and expand Islamic financial channels in the region by equity investment in 5 banks and 4 non-bank or non-banking financial institutions. The banks that we have are like Tamwil Africa Holding in Senegal, Al-Akhdar Bank in Morocco, Al-Wifaq Bank in Tunisia, Byblos Bank in Sudan, Saba Bank in Yemen, NPFIs, Taiba Territory, Senegal, Inma Ijara Company, Egypt, Palestinian Ijara, Palestine, Arab Leasing, Sudan. Giving the great importance to partnership compared to direct involvement, we have also improved and approved 51 line of finance facilities for local, regional, and multilateral financial institutions in Arab and African countries for an amount of more than $1.7 billion. But our power lies in our capacity to act as catalyst in mobilizing resources for the developmental and in partnership with other players, such as your esteemed institutions for the best allocation of those resources. ICD's wide network of local, regional, and multilateral financial institutions and its close relationship with other development institutions prove us a great opportunity of joining our force to better serve AATB program and our member countries. Today, financial institutions are trying to improve their accessibility and flexibility and offer customized products and services tailored to those needs for their clients. Most retail financial institutions are now customer fingertipped, and while ever increased amount of B2B business have been digitalized. As you are becoming closer to your clients through branches and digital platform, we are also trying to become closer to you by establishing regional offices and having our staff on the ground, and by developing networks and partnership framework and platforms. ICD Bridge is a digital platform that we have been developing to share investments and cooperation opportunities across our member countries with our partnership and financial institutions. The Bridge platform ICD aims to accelerate knowledge sharing, market assessment, and specific deals with all the boosting national economic development and strengthening the capacity of private sector. The platform aims to facilitate information sharing among member countries and financial institutions, enhance market and business intelligence analysis, enable open access to fintech resources, and could serve the services, reduce financial transactions costs for member financial institutions, upgrade advisory services ICD offers in its partnership by applying fintech technology. The Bridge platform is passing through its final pilot stage and soon will be open subscription of our partner financial institutions. Meanwhile, we continue our dialogue and explore collaboration opportunity in the form of investment, financing, co-financing, and syndication, and invite you all to be in contact with our team in the region offices and headquarters to be informed of our available opportunity, or share with us your ideas for important investments and the role that we can play as your partners, or as a catalyst helping you finding other partners. ICD has local presence in Dakar, Senegal, and Cairo, Egypt, and can be reached through ISDB regional office in Rabat, Morocco. Together we can do more, and we can go for looking forward to cooperation with all of you. Thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and thank you very much for your well-rounded remarks that covered all the areas. And definitely all the financial institutions now are looking forward to understand more and get more details on what ICD can offer. That's why we're moving now to the second part of the webinar, which is the technical presentations. And we extend our thanks to their excellencies, all the CEOs for their remarks, and we invite them to remain with us as we are already getting questions for their excellencies to be answered by them in the question and answer session. Now, moving on to the technical presentations, we have 4 dedicated technical presentations, and we will be starting by IDB, the Islamic Development Bank presentation, who is leading the infrastructure pillar, because infrastructure is a very important part of the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program, and no trade can be facilitated without infrastructure. I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Sayed Qadri, the Acting Director, Resilience and Social Development Department in IDB, to introduce to us the AATB program, the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program activities, features, and benefits. Brother Sayed, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Nasser, and we're delighted to join you all in presenting the features of the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program. And so if we can go to the next slide, we'll give you an overview. You already got a flavor of it in the video presentation, so this goes just one step little deeper into it. The next slide, please. And so essentially the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program, as you've heard this morning or this afternoon, is a multi-donor, multi-country, multi-organization program. But what it's really trying to do at the heart of it is to promote and increase trade and investment flows, provide and support trade finance and export credit insurance. And you heard already some examples from our CEOs on these things. And one of the key objectives is to increase economic integration and support sustainable growth across Arab and African countries. And lastly, enhance capacity building tools towards this end. So in terms of instruments that we have in the next slide,
We have essentially four, if we can go to the next slide, please. We have essentially 5 instruments towards achieving the objectives and designing and carrying out the projects and interventions for Arab and Africa countries. These are related to establishing and developing different platforms to enhance business opportunities between the two regions, developing business environment and cooperation between the two regions, enhancing competitiveness with special focus, particularly in the private sector and SMEs, building partnerships, and supporting job creation. So all these 5 instruments are captured in our pillars, which we'll go through in the next slide, please. And before we get to that, in terms of the organization of the program, we have a governing board. The governing board consists of the program founding members. The board offers strategic guidance, it gives directions, it sets the long-term challenges and opportunities for the program. And the board, since its launching in 2017 in Rabat, has already met 3 times in 2018, 19, and 21, is expected to be in Tunisia. But the first governing board meeting was in Morocco, the second one in Dakar, Senegal, and now we're anticipating in the next governing board meeting in Tunisia in a couple of months' time. Next slide, please. And the governing board discharges its duties by appointing special executive committees. This executive committee has already had a series of meetings, and they provide a translation of the guidance received from the governing board into implementable activities. And we've already had sessions in Morocco in 2018, Marrakesh in April 2019, Dakar in November 2019, and then we just recently had our 4th executive committee meeting very recently in 23rd December 2020 as well, on the 5th one. The next one, please. So in terms of actual implementation, that happens and that is directed through a PMU, a project management unit that has been set up. It manages the daily operations, it coordinates amongst the various different members of the AATB, and it provides technical and financial reporting services and makes sure that all the information that we have is accurate, detailed, and all the implementation plans are operating effectively. Next slide, please. Now, this is the key point that we want to really leave you with. And this was also somewhat elucidated in the video introduction. So there are 4 basic industries that the program is touching upon. The agricultural industry, also working at agri-industries and related textiles, health industries, pharmaceutical products, again, very vital and important in the context of COVID-19 that we're witnessing, infrastructure and transport, one of the most capital-intensive industries where different partners are coming in, and ISDB being one of the major ones here, petrochemicals, construction material, and technology industries as such. So these 4 industries are the key focus areas for the program. Now, the program discharges and influences these 4 industries through a variety of different sub-pillars. And these are, you can almost look at them in terms of modalities. So you have the first sub-pillar as the trade pillar, which is in terms of nominal lead is ITFC. Infrastructure pillar, as you heard from Nasser, is led by the Islamic Development Bank, but others, of course, are joining. Insurance pillar by ISIC and investment pillar by the ICT. So this is how amalgamation of the 4 industries versus the pillars takes place, and that's where the projects and activities and interventions go on. Next slide, please. In terms of joining the AATB, there are a few benefits that we want to leave you with. First and foremost, it's a fantastic platform for provision of financial and technical support, investment in related activities to promote the intra-trade and investment among Arab and African countries. And it is also a vehicle to support the national strategies of the various different countries as well. So it is not only an opportunity, but it is a strategic opportunity. The way it discharges itself is also towards business matchmaking for exporters and importers of the private sector with their counterparts. So that is in terms of hard opportunities, but also from the soft skill side, the specialized capacity building programs have that edge in terms of developing the next leaders in the Arab and Africa countries and developing the next institutions, which will be the beacon in terms of promoting cooperation amongst them as well. So these are tremendous amount of benefits which are applicable to all the members that join into the program. The next slide, please. Now, in terms of the members that are already there, we're very honored and fortunate to have 7 countries: Morocco, Egypt, Senegal, Tunisia, Benin, Cameroon, and Togo. And we're also very fortunate to have 6 strong institutions: ISDB, ITFC, Badia, Afri-Exim Bank, ISIC, and OFID that you've heard of today. And we also have observers, and that is also a possibility to start off with. before becoming full members, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Gambia. So all these things put together, this is just a short introduction. The next slide one. So I think we've just wrapped up everything that we wanted to say and to lay the stage. And I look forward to hearing our colleagues offer the technical presentation. So over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sayed. And thank you for the condensed and focused information that delivered everything to the spot right on and even below the time limit of 7 minutes. Thank you, Sayed. Now, we have a more exciting set of presentations and technical details. But before that, and to make sure that our webinar is not boring, we have an interesting video that we would like to show to you regarding the IDB group entities. Sahel, let's have the video, please.
Our world today is full of opportunity, but it's also full of challenges, both to business and to investment. For countries to develop their economies, achieve their sustainable development goals, and create new jobs, they need to have access to finance and be able to mitigate political and commercial risk. So, to cater for the needs of the private sector in its member countries, the Islamic Development Bank Group created 3 dedicated business arms. Working with ISDB group organizations means you gain more support for your projects, Islamic finance for your trade, and Islamic insurance against business risk. The Islamic Corporation for the Insurance of Investment and Export Credit, or ISIC, helps to enlarge the scope of cross-border trade and facilitates foreign investment into IOC member countries. Our Sharia-compliant insurance and reinsurance solutions gives you the confidence to enter new markets, while minimizing risk and making your business more competitive. Well positioned in the credit and political risk industry, our range of products is widely accepted across the business community, helping member countries to grow their economies. The Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector, or ICD, provides access to Sharia-compliant finance. Our mission is to help businesses like yours thrive and in turn boost the economic growth of the private sector in all our member countries. Islamic finance, mid to long-term finance, industry finance, large-scale infrastructure finance. Whether you're a deep-rooted establishment or a startup enterprise, our portfolio of finance solutions will help your business achieve its ambitions. We want businesses to flourish, and not just within their home markets. To catalyze trade, we founded the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation, or ITFC. By enhancing intra-OIC trade, we contribute to the growth of imports and exports in our member countries. Our solutions strengthen economies within, between, and beyond our member countries. With integrated trade solutions, including Sharia-compliant trade finance and trade development programs, our client partnerships are designed to ensure their business success. Together, our organizations address every challenge your business faces through a comprehensive partnership formula. ICD finances your projects. ITFC finances and boosts your trade deals. ISIC ensures your investment and export transactions. And ISDB's Group Business Forum, THICA, promotes synergy among ISDB group member countries. The result is a perfect ecosystem for your business to grow.
Thank you. Thank you, team, for the very interesting video that paves the way for an understanding of what does each entity of the IDB group entities do, the ITFC, the ISIC, as well as the ICD. Now, moving more into how this relates to AATB and how each of these institutions is leading their role and their relevant pillar under the AATB, we have a set of 3 technical presentations. We will start the first one with the trade pillar, the ITFC, And I would like to invite Mr. Ayman Qasim, Division Manager, Trade Development in the Trade and Business Development Department in ITFC, to present the trade pillar of the AATB program. Ayman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Nasser. As you mentioned, this presentation will cover the trade development pillar of the Arab-Africa Trade Bridge program. The other pillars will be covered in the coming presentations. Next, please. Next. Thank you. So I would like to start by giving a little background about the launching of the program. As one of the most active platforms for South-South cooperation, the AATB was designed after analyzing the figures of the trade flows between the African and the Arab regions that were not reflecting the historical, economic, and social relations between both regions, but more importantly, they were not reflecting the real potential, economic potential of both regions as well. Next. Next, please. So one of the first actions of the program were to commission a study to identify the most important sectors that have the potential for trade and investment between both regions. The study, which was achieved or done by the International Trade Center in Geneva, identified many sectors and pillars that were adopted by the program to promote and increase trade flows between the Arab and African region through various actions. So part of these actions, we have here the business matching projects. The B2B businesses is category of the actions that aimed at gathering businessmen from both regions. Many of them were organized in two sectors mainly, the pharmaceutical sector and the agri-food sector, where hundreds of importers and exporters from both regions held meetings and negotiate deals and concluded also deals. The details will in the next slide, please. So the results of these business matching activities confirmed the huge potential for increasing trade flows between both regions. As we can see here, we have the figures here reached the almost $1 million of deals for the pharmaceutical sector, and we exceeded the $46 million in the agri-food sector. This matching matching meetings have encouraged many pharmaceutical companies in the Arab region to invest in some African countries, like Cote d'Ivoire, where Tunisian companies have their affiliates now open there. And there are other projects also coming in Senegal and other African countries. Next, please. The capacity building is one of the also core activity of the Arab-Africa Trade Bridge program. Increasing the trade-related and export capacities is one of the main objectives. It has even more importance with the launching of the CFTA, the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, where member countries will need further skills to benefit from the free trade agreements. This customized capacity building program, next please. This customized capacity building program was designed specifically for AATB to be provided to their African French-speaking countries. Well, it was attended by high foreign trade officers. The capacity building was also very much appreciated by the beneficiaries, and we are now planning to duplicate this experience with other member countries in 2021 as part of the action plan. Next, please. The AATB program partnered with OCP Africa, one of the world's leaders of fertilizers production, to provide technical assistance to Senegal using the latest technology in the soil analysis. And also the activity benefited all Senegal regions and reached 5,000 Senegalese farmers. Next. Well, for the AATB response to the COVID-19, the world was surprised early 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic, which revealed different kind of needs and requirements. The AATB could react quickly to the pandemic and held its fourth executive committee meeting on 9th of April 2020, which was chaired by the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADIA. During this meeting, an AATB COVID-19 response was discussed and adopted to support African and Arab countries to face the challenges of the COVID-19. Next, please. So immediately after the approval of the AATB COVID-19 response, the program, along with its partners, namely Islamic Development Bank and other professional medical associations, organized series of medical webinars that witnessed the participation of 130 doctors and thousands of health professionals throughout the African continent. We could proudly say that these programs benefited a lot of countries and a lot of doctors. And we know that some of the protocols that were introduced during these webinars were adopted by some member countries. And thanks God, were really helpful to limit the impact, the health pressure also on some member countries. Next. Furthermore, I mean, the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program adopted national program to support some member countries by providing direct support to the health sector, but also by providing dedicated training to exporters to help them overcome the challenges imposed by the COVID-19 on the foreign trade and recipient markets. Next. We have here some pictures and info about the contingency plan that was allocated to Benin to help them equip more than 17 laboratories throughout the country to commit the or to combat the effect of the COVID-19. Next, please. Next. So the harmonization of a standard for pharmaceuticals, pharmaceutical standard and medical devices. This is one of the actions that were coordinated between AATB member institutions. The harmonization of the standard was launched in collaboration with Afrexim Bank and the African Standard Organization in 2020. Next. And it should also allow for the harmonization of more than 75% of the standards, opening the door for important facilitation of trade and investment projects in these sectors and the continent in the coming years. Next, please. Among the actions that are being implemented by the program is to support member countries to face the pressure on the health sector of many countries. The AATB program, with the support of the ISDB and ITFC, is actually providing consistent support to a network of 10 laboratories in West Africa, facilitated by an active involvement and support of the Institut Pasteur in Dakar. Next. OCP Agri Booster is a perfect example of the programs that were adopted to face the challenges of the COVID-19 on the food security of some countries. This ambition program will help Cote d'Ivoire to add 20,000 hectares to the rice cultivated areas, enabling to reach 100% self-sufficiency in this important commodity. Next. The total number of farmers that will benefit from this program will exceed 20,000 smallholders in many regions of Cote d'Ivoire, and the capacity building part covered by AATB intervention will use new technology tools to reach them in different areas of the country. Next, please. Trade finance, next. Developing partnerships between financial institutions in both regions is one of the key objectives of the program. The AATB program did organize and started by organizing the Arab African Trade Finance Forum in 2017 in Dubai, where numbers of agreements were signed between participant institutions. Next. Beside that, the Afrexim Bank and ITFC signed the Arab Africa Trade Facilitation and Promotion Program, the AATFEP, in 2019, which is a $500 million program that was signed and dedicated to finance trade between both regions. Next. The AATV program is not only about financial packages, but also contains an action plan that will focus on implementing projects and programs to facilitate trade and increase trade-related capacities with partners from both regions as well. Next, please. Lines of financing. ITFC extended lines of financing in favor of Banque Atlantique in Cote d'Ivoire for the support of the SMEs and exporting companies. This operation was also renewed and being used, and also is now targeting other countries in the region to provide lines of financing to support SMEs in these difficult times. Next, please. We have here also the 290 million worth of financing was finalized in 2020 to support food security and sustain the supply chain for industry and export. The AATF plans to sustain the interventions in this sector in 2021 in partnership with relevant institutions and partners, and broaden the reach to include other essential sectors also to be covered by their financing. Next, please. Well, that's all for the trade pillar of the AATB program, and thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayman, for the comprehensive presentation. We can sum it as ITFC engagement in the trade pillar and the AATB is mainly two big parts. One part is on the soft side, where ITFC aims at creating trade flows as well as building the capacities of member countries to engage in trade from the African side as well as the Arab side. The other role that ITFC is playing is to finance these trade flows as and when they happen, whether they were created by the AATB program or they are trade flows that are existing without the AATB program. And we're already receiving many questions. We will get a chance to get to it in the Q&A session. Now, moving forward, the next presenter will deal with the insurance pillar. And as we said, insurance is important, not only for trade, but also for investments. And no trade or investment can happen without insurance. Therefore, I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Ismail Al-Filali from ISEC. He is the Morocco, Middle East, and North Africa manager in ISEC to present the insurance pillar of the AATB program. Brother Ismail, you have the floor.
Thank you, Brother Nasser. Assalamu alaikum, all protocol observed. I will be presenting on behalf of ISEC the technical presentation on the insurance pillar of the AATB program. Next, please. Next. So my presentation will be covering actually four points, four sections. So first, I will be giving a brief presentation about ISEC for partners that are not familiar about ISEC and its mandate as well as strategy. Then I will be speaking about ISEC role in the AATB program. This role, then I will be showcasing how this role to this program is translated into actual transactions between ISEC and AATB partners. And finally, I will share with you ISEC value proposition for ICD's IFI's network in the context of the AATB program. So first, ISEC is in a nutshell. Please, next. So ISEC is a unique international financial institution. Why? Because ISEC is the only multilateral financial institution providing Sharia-compliant insurance and reinsurance, trade and investment solutions. It has been established in 1994 in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. ISEC is a member of the ISDB group, and it's rated AA3 by Moody's since it has been rated AA3 by Moody's since 13 consecutive years. ISEC's strategy is to enhance economic development in member countries and ensure financial sustainability. It is also to become the preferred enabler of economic and social development in member countries using credit and trade and investment insurance solutions as a tool. Next, please. So ISEC actually role is to provide solutions in order to one, enhance the FDIs, the foreign direct investment into its member countries from the world, from the non-member countries to its member countries, but also between member countries using credit insurance solutions and investment solutions, insurance solutions, but also to promote and to facilitate intra-OIC cooperation by facilitating trade and investment information sharing, for example, through the AATB forum or other forums. Next, please. So what is the ISEC role within this program? Please, next. So ISEC actually is, as was presented, leading the insurance pillar. It means that ISEC is actively involved in the project management units of the AATB by making sure that all the activities and daily operations are actually being executed as per the criteria set by the governing board. ISEC also is acting as an entry point to provide risk mitigation solutions thanks to its experience in this field and thanks to its track record and its relationship with associations like Amman Union and Bern Union. The second role is promoting synergy and partnership within the program with effective agreements yielding to deals both in trade finance and project finance. And the last also important point is to ensure that origination and deal flow is continuous within the program by creating a business referral mechanism between ISEC partners and also the partners of the AATB program. Next, please. ISEC also is playing a role as a catalyst and mobilizer of additional resources thanks to its insurance capacity and capital relief mechanism by inviting other IFIs and other partners to take part of transactions under the AATB program. ICD also is leveraging on its relationship with its sister entities such as ITFC through their respective membership into professional association. Since we are navigating through unprecedented pandemic crisis, ISEC actually is serving the program by proposing state-of-the-art and innovative solutions. iSeries that was introduced by His Excellency Osama Qaisi in the beginning of the presentation. So this program actually is a collaboration between ISEC and ICFD, which is the Solidarity and Poverty Alleviation arm of ISDB Group. And this program actually is very innovative since it's a blending mechanism allowing ISEC to subsidize its premium, to discount it, and to facilitate the procurement of medicine, medical equipment, and other essential commodities into member countries. So this program actually is aiming to mobilize up to 400 million USD by using the leverage mechanism of ISEC, aiming at and making sure that the resources mobilized from the grants will serve the larger communities. So this partnership actually is very timely, and we have been successful into structuring and inviting members of the AATB to benefit from this program. Next, please. Also, a very important aspect is to streamline the marketing and communication of the program about the different initiatives and results achieved. And ISEC actually is taking part of different seminars, also coordinating the public relations strategy, and also making sure that there's a permanent connection and permanent relationship between the member of the AATB through Digital Business Forum. And finally, ISEC also is feeding the program by all the results on the insurance pillar in order to make sure that the program is meeting its annual KPIs and also as per the annual activity plan. Next, please. So at the transition, I will just speak about the sample of transaction under the AATB program where ISEC was involved. So the first one is a tripartite collaboration between ITFC and Afrixim, where ISEC actually is introducing a risk-sharing mechanism with ITFC in order to help the Afrixim Bank to provide a line of financing to corporates and bank and financial institutions. Next, please. Another interesting structure whereby Afrixim actually is on lending to the National Bank of Egypt, which is also a member of the Egypt is also a member of the program, and ISEC actually is enhancing the structure by providing a reinsurance capability to African Exim Bank. So thanks to this collaboration, the Afrixim Bank has been able to support at a larger scale the SMEs, which is a very important aspect in the development and to restart after the pandemic. Next, please. So this is a very innovative and structured scheme to promote investment between Saudi Electric, an Egyptian contractor, investing in an African country, whereby actually ISEC is playing a role to mobilize more resources through commercial banks. And this transaction, the financial part, was actually led by leading DFI in Africa, TDB, and also joined by members of the AATB. And this scheme helped to mobilize large resources thanks to de-risking mechanism offered by ISEC. Next, please. So what is the ISEC value proposition for ICD's financial institutions network? Next. So in a nutshell, we're trying to achieve through this program and also by leveraging on ISEC capabilities is to use the AATB partners as a source of transaction origination and also crowding all the capacities offered by ICD and ISEC network, FI's network, and also making sure that this capacity is being is yield to bankable project by using de-risking solutions offered by ISEC. And this will actually reach the expected outcomes, which are to streamline the use of risk mitigation solutions to increase the number of bankable deals under the program. Also leverage on the ISEC and ICD synergy capabilities to increase appetite for the African market by offering financing and insurance package. And finally, to make sure that the program is helping also execute ISEC mandate to support trade and investment in member countries. Next. So finally, I will just summarize how interesting is this program for a financial institution on 6 main points. So the first point, as it was presented in the beginning, this is a multi-donor and multi-country, multi-organization program aiming to promote trade and investment between Africa and Arab countries. It is also a great entry point to originate transactions for FIs into the African markets, especially in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It is also interesting as ISEC, out of 47 ISEC member countries, has 23 in Africa, and ISEC also has a local presence in the continent through Rabat, Dakar, and soon Egypt offices. Also, the insurance pillar led by ISEC will help streamlining the use of risk mitigation solutions, and ISEC capability also to offer tailored structured solutions such as ISERI. Also, ISEC has demonstrated the great potential of this program by closing 5.6 billion worth of transaction in the last 10 years. And finally, joining the AATB means also accessing to a unique program offering a one-stop shop for insurance and also financing solutions and a multi-canal origination possibilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ismail. We really like the way that you summed it up at the end, the 6 key points where ISEC or highlighted ISEC value proposition as it relates to the financial institutions that can benefit from AATB and the role that ISEC can play to facilitate their support and their membership and their value addition to the program. Now we move to ICD, a key institution that invited many of its partners to this very interesting webinar to help them understand the opportunities that the AATB program can open for them. I'm glad to introduce Mr. Sayed bin Ahmed. He is principal in the Infrastructure, Corporate Finance, Global Markets, and Fixed Income Department in ICD to present the investment pillar of the AATB program, its benefits, and how can the financial institution benefit from the AATB program, as well as the opportunities that it offers for them. Mr. Sayed, you have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. Nasser. Should we proceed? First slides, please. First one. As part of the ISDB group, ICD fosters sustainable economic growth in its 55 member countries by financing private sector investment, mobilizing capital in the international financial market, and providing advisory services to businesses as well as government. Out of these 55 member countries, ICD has 18 member countries, which are Arabic. 12 of them are in the Middle East and 6 are in North of Africa, while 21 countries are in Africa. Next slide, please. In its mission to support the economic development of its member country, ICD uses the following group of products. So we have the financial sector, which include the line of finance, the banking and non-banking equity, and the advisory program. The real sector, which includes the infrastructure and corporate finance, as well as sukuk. And we have the asset management and the treasury as a third and fourth program. Next, please. As highlighted in the regional and sectorial breakdown of the ICD operations, the main bulk of our activities since inception is focused on the financial and real sectors, which count more than 70% of the ICD total activities. In terms of region, the focus has shifted from the MENA region, representing more than 61% from inception until 2010, to sub-Saharan countries offering a higher growth opportunities, which has increased from 8% in 2010 to more than 26% till mid-2020. Next, please. Among the products that could contribute the most to the AATB program is the line of finance, which is one of the ICD core focus area. ICD, in fact, has provided line of finance to 106 financial institutions across 35 countries, out of which 30 are in Africa. Taking into account the importance of the number of our partners in the region, we decided to take this opportunity as part of our role as investment pillar to introduce the program to those beneficiaries, financial institutions, and in their turn, these FIs could link the end beneficiaries, which are the SMEs, with a broader network, allowing them to diversify their products and expanding their expertise. ICD also has some equity participation in several financial institutions. Next slide, please. It has ownership in banks such as Tamil Africa Holding in Senegal, Al Akhdar Bank, Morocco, Al Wifaq Bank in Tunisia, as well as some ownership in non-banking financial institutions such as Taiba Titrization in Senegal or Inma Ijara Company in Egypt. Next slide, please. The second ICD core product, which has relevance to the AATB program, is the infrastructure and the corporate finance, where we are providing medium to long-term financing, both for the corporate as well for projects. And we are covering several sectors such as the power and the renewable, social infrastructure, where you can find hospitals, schools, manufacturing, agribusiness, as well as PPP's project. So during our assessment of these financing, ICD will take the opportunity to present the program to its co-financiers, sponsors, and various stakeholders such as EPC and O&M contractors, government bodies, equipment suppliers, etc. So the synergy between all the partners of this program will be more efficient and will lead to more cooperation between all the partners. Next slide, please. So being aware of the importance of the partnership in the fulfillment of its mandate, which is the development of the private sector, ICD has built a strong network and partnership across member countries. These partnerships include development banks, sovereign funds, financial institutions, central banks, and technical advisors. Some examples of our partners are highlighted in these slides, where you can find some of the AATB partners such as Badia and Afri-Exim Bank. Furthermore, in order to strengthen our global network of financial institutions and share investment and cooperation opportunities across our member countries, and as highlighted by our CEO earlier, a digital platform under the name of The Bridge will be launched soon. This will also be an opportunity to introduce the AATB program and enrich the collaboration between the different partners. Next, please. In addition, ICD can leverage on its membership in the International Development Finance Club, where our CEO, Mr. Ayman Sijini, is the vice chairman of this club since 2019. The club members work together to implement the SDGs, which are the main goals of the entities of the ISDB group. It counts 26 members and represents over $4 trillion of USD in combined assets. The African group members of this club include Trade and Development Bank, which covers the East and Southern Africa, Caisse de dépôt de gestion in Morocco, Development Bank of South Africa, and West African Development Bank, the BOAD, which covers the West African Economic and Monetary Union region. Next slide, please. So we'll present some examples of the ICD project that could fall under this AATB program. One of them is the Oriental food industry, which is one of our favorite kind of type of investment, where we have a sponsor with a good track record in a member country looking for replicating the same investment in another member country. In this case, we had like a Saudi sponsor, which has a plant producing dairy products, and he was looking to duplicate the same in Nigeria, and we were successful to provide him with the 28 million Ijara facility for this project, and the project was successful, and the repayment was being done successfully as well. Next, please. The other two examples are related to the line of finance, which we provided a line of finance of 100 million facility, which was dispersed and fully repaid to Afri-Exim Bank. And we are currently looking at securing a larger ticket facility between 100 and 200 to the same bank for future cooperation. Next slide, please. The other example is the line at the two facilities, or the two line of finance that has been provided to Islamic Bank of Senegal and BND. Each of them were 33 million and 8 million. And we are currently working on two COVID facilities to support the sectors affected by the pandemic towards these two financial institutions. So at the end, we would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners and future partners to respond positively to this webinar, and we hope that the cooperation will be positively successful for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Sayed, for showing the way to the financial institutions of how they can collaborate with all the entities as well as with ICD regarding the investment pillar under the AATB program. And we like to make things practical, and we like to make things factual. And nothing better than that is to invite a partner of ours, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, to talk about its own experience in collaborating with ICD as well as with the other entities of the IDB group under the umbrella of the AATB program. This aims at showing our future potential partners, the financial institutions, that the AATB program does work and it does deliver value and opportunity, and realizes opportunity for everybody, the financial institution, the member country, as well as the exporter. So I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Mahbouba Diang. He's the Vice President of Finance in IBID, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, IBID, to deliver a short presentation. Dr. Mahbouba, you have the floor.
Many thanks, Nasser, and allow me first to thank the Islamic Development Bank Group for this very successful webinar. And please allow me also to thank all the CEO of ISIC, the CEO of ITFC, and the colleagues from ICD. And Nasser, as you rightly said it, the ECOWAS Investment and Development Bank is a full believer of what the Arab-Africa Trade Bridge is. And I really like the way you have framed it by talking in terms of opportunity mapping. And I would like to start maybe just showing the line of opportunity that we have and how the ECOWAS Investment Bank, ISIC and ICD and ITFC have worked together in bringing very innovative financing structure. One of them is export credit agency-backed financing structure. The second one is a structured trade commodity finance. But let me just show up what the opportunities are we talking about. If we talk about infrastructure, Africa needs between 130 to $170 billion every year in terms of financing. And the financing gap could easily range between $68 to $108 billion. Food import, $35 billion annual bill. And over the next coming 4 years, it could easily range to $40 billion for the next 4 years. Power, Africa needs between $29 to $39 billion every year in terms of investment. And the additional financing from 2026 to 2030 will be range from $190 billion to $215 billion. Healthcare, and I'm so glad that that one of the pillars of the key strategy of the Arab-Africa Trade Bridge Program is on the healthcare. Africa currently import 80% of its healthcare need for a current market value estimated around $14 billion. Now, if we take each of those 4 to 5 industry streams, what ABIT has done, together, working very closely together with the Arab-Africa Trade Bridge Program, with ICD, with ITFC, and with ISIC. Currently, we are working with El Swidi, which is one of the largest Arab EPC energy supplier, with a $14 billion turnover, with a $4 billion turnover, with 14,000 employees. Here we have put together, working with Europe's largest ECA packager and El Swidi, to put together a financing solution where part of the money was coming from the European Bank, but part of the money is also coming from the Arab Africa, from the Arab banks, and also supporting El Swidi basically to give power to 50 large villages in Guinea-Bissau. And if you see here, we have an export trade agency cover. Once we, because El Swidi will be, through Ferrostal, will be buying a lot of materials, equipment from Europe. And by the fact that they are buying materials from Europe, we will basically be getting export credit agency financing cover from people like Euro Hermes, part of the financing coming from Europe, part of the financing, let's say, through us, supporting El Swidi, and we are basically promoting Arab-Africa Trade Bridge. And this was a very concrete example of how the ECOWAS Investment and Development Bank, working together with the Islamic Development Bank Group, supporting an Arab, EPC giant like El Swidi, to help Africa, to help ECOWAS to address one of the energy shortage. Thank you. Next slide. And here, if you see, we did set a special purpose vehicle, who is basically the IPP, who will be implementing that project. They did a JV with El Swidi. The equipment, the palasanals, the converter, all those things imported from Europe. They could also be imported from the Arab countries. And but in this structure, we just did it in order to to unlock the ECA funding, and we also to enable the technology transfer, the capital, the capacity building. If you see here, there is a local supplier that we did build up with El Swidi to do all the technical knowledge transfer. Thank you. Next slide. Now, this slide is very exciting because today, why Africa is importing $35 billion of food. We have water, we have arable land. Now here, EBIT, the ECOWAS Investment and ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, is putting an integrated community-backed agri-farming model. Here, if you see, we are putting together an let's say, what I will call agri-mechanized center. And because today, even if you want to help a farmer, if you give him a tractor, you're not helping him. Because if the tractor has broken down, he doesn't have any money to repair it. The reason why we are putting we are putting a mechanized center that could serve let's say 5,000 farmers, and Senegal has implemented through what they call the DAC, Domaine Agricole Communautaire, and now Nigeria has implemented what they call allo tractors. And once we support the farmers to grow whatever they have to grow, we will also help to have what I will call National Grain Board, managed by private entity, and they will have offtake contracts from those outgrowths. And we set the milling plants. And now how EBIT is supporting this whole ecosystem. I'm glad to let you know that we have been mandated by the West Africa Fertilizer Association to raise $520 million, $430 million of fertilizer, and $90 million of capex. And I'm very, very, very glad to let you know that under the Arab-Africa Trade Bridge, Bank of Africa, BMCL, ITFC, and BADEA have clubbed together and have supported our bank with a $150 million line to basically support the West African Fertilizer Association to get in bulk, cheaper, faster, and more efficient, let's say, fertilizer. And we are doing it with partners like the Arab Africa Fertilizer Association, with partners like OCP. And I'm very glad to let you know that we are drafting as we speak an MOU with OCP. We are drafting as we speak an MOU with the West Africa Fertilizer Association, basically to implement this. And we are very, very, very grateful. EBIT is very, very grateful for the support that the Islamic Development Bank Group across all the sectors, ICD, ITFC, ISIC, is supporting us by implementing this integrated community-backed agri-farming model. Thank you. Next slide. And now here, if you see the way it's going to be implemented, you have the EBIT with a pool of lenders, including the local banks, with the support of the $150 million line that we got. We have also got support from ACA, the German consortium. They have given us close to 90 billion CFA, and we just signed our president, Dr. George Donkor, just recently signed the memorandum of understanding for financing, basically to support the West Africa region with regional bulk import of fertilizer, and also of truck, of blending factories. And I'm very glad to say when the ITFC chairman CEO was talking about the fertility mapping of OCP, and all these things is helping us alongside the WAFA regional bulk import program, which is supported by Bank of Africa, BMCL, ITFC, and BADEA to mobilize $150 million to execute this mandate. And I think that this will help. This is a very concrete example of how the Africa Trade Bridge program could help Africa, could help ECOWAS to basically reduce the import bill. Thank you. Next slide. And now here again, if you see all those people that we mentioned, Bank of Africa, Afri-Exim Bank, BADEA, Islamic Development Bank, and the local bank, alongside other partners supporting WAFA, the West Africa Fertilizer Association, through the mandate that through the $520 million mandate that they have given to EBIT to execute. And here you see Arab Fertilizer Association, ECOWAS. We are already almost in a daily conversation with OCP, basically to see how they decide how they're going to support it. Because of the materiality of the number, we're going to be using very structured trade commodity financing mechanism, collateral management, caisse détention, working with inspection companies. And here again, you see ISIC, supporting the whole structure, African Guaranteed Fund, because the individual importers are basically medium to size companies, and basically this is how the structure going to look like, with the daily reporting that would basically inform all the daily stakeholders how things are going to be structured. Next slide. Here basically is how the capex is going to be done, and this is where also Islamic EBIT, the ECOWAS Investment and Development Bank, would like to join hands with ICD, because we need to build 11 warehouses of 20,000 metric tons. We need to get 250 trucks. We need to build 11 blending factories alongside, let's say, the fertility mapping that OCP is doing through the Agri Booster program. And we have already applied for the $100 million line to ICD in order to support the ECOWAS Investment Bank and Investment and Development Bank to booster the relationship between Arab countries and ECOWAS. And I think that an amazing opportunity to build 11 blending factories, boost 250 trucks, build 11 warehouses in order to increase the consumption of fertilizer, which is going to be critical for boosting the food security in ECOWAS. And again, many thanks to ITFC, ISIC, and ICD, and BADEA for the amazing job that they are doing supporting us to support the food import in Africa. Next slide. No, okay, next slide. I have already explained this slide.
Dr. Mahbouba, we have 1 minute.
Okay, this is the last slide. And now, this is also another concrete example where, let's say, the ECOWAS Investment Bank, Investment and Development Bank is working together with Islamic Development Bank, with ISIC to support a member country like Togo. Togo has received 35% grant funding from facilitated through ROC, and we are also working with the ECA packager basically to get the capex and the funding that we need in order to complete the financing of the hospital. These are very good example of how the Islamic Development Bank Group and the partners and the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program could help an ECOWAS country to implement, let's say, some key infrastructure project. Many thanks, Nasser, and many thanks to the organizer.
Thank you indeed, Dr. Mahbouba, for putting things in perspective. It's important, to understand the theory or the logic behind it and what the tools are available, but it's even more important to see it in action. And we're really excited to hear it from you. The one who has been in the center of action and the one who has been benefiting to prove that the AATB program does work. And what we are offering, the value proposition, is indeed for the benefit of all the actors, the financial institution, the member countries, the exporters, and as well as the importers, which reemphasizes the goal of the Arab Africa Trade Bridges Program and the value it is bringing specifically now in a post-COVID-19 world. So thank you again, Dr. Mahbouba, for that. Now, we have little less than half an hour to go, and we're receiving so many questions. We will try to address as many as we can. The rest of the questions will be answered directly by the technical experts through email. To start with, we have 2 questions addressed to CEO of ISIC. The first question, Your Excellency, is that during your speech, you mentioned and you touched upon the importance of partnerships in helping ISIC support the Arab Africa Trade Bridges Program. What type of partnerships were you referring to, and how do you see that these partnerships will help ISIC in supporting the Arab Africa Trade Bridges Program?
Thank you, Nasser. And very valid questions when it comes to ISIC and what we do as a multilateral. When we talk about partnership, it goes beyond the terms of how it can support ISIC. I think Dr. Mahbouba gave us a flavor of the gap that is available in financing for Africa. And we're talking here about a specific continent. We're not talking about a global approach to where we are working. ISIC works in respect of trade at global level and in respect of investment within the member countries. We work on providing the support for the foreign direct investment inflow. A big part of the business that we do is really working on capacity building and resource mobilization. Resource mobilization, it comes from 2 sources when ISIC is working and providing support to the member countries and to the in trade finance and in project finance. It comes from the reinsurance market, and it comes as well from the private sector, which is mainly local, regional, and multilateral development bank or international institution, financial institution. Reinsurance market, it plays an extremely important role where we leverage our capacity. Our capital as a multilateral development institution is very humble compared to the global mapping that we have as an institution. As an example, I give you ISIC, and it has been shown at the presentation that my colleague has shown when he was talking about ISIC, about having almost $300 million in paid up capital but where our interjection over the last 26 years has been in the tune of $106 billion US. This is done by leveraging the capacity that ISIC has, and this is done through the reinsurance market that believes on who we are as a multilateral institution, and where we are, for every dollar that we are supporting our institution, it can be leveraged an average of 12 to 15 times. This is the partnerships that we really value at the level of the reinsurance market, and this is what makes us differentiate itself from others in respect of who we are as an MDB, a part of the ISDB group, and being able to support the member countries that we have as a multilateral status. Second important part, it is the resource mobilization and the capacity building, as we have discussed, and it has been brought upon several times in the discussions. Banking institutions, they look at ISIC in respect of the standing that we have as a multilateral institutions for capital relief, and they take it as well for risk mitigation. And we have discussed that in respect of when we were talking about de-risking, and this is what the issue that has been brought upon as well from ICD and from ITFC and ISIC during the presentations that are there. When you couple, the depth of the relationship that we have in the reinsurance market, as well as the capacity for us to de-risk through the multi-layered solutions that we have that are financial in essence and insurance based, we are able to muster the needed support in order for us to cover the projects that we are having as an institution. Partnerships as well, like today, we are asking, our future partners that are here available with us to put their hand in our hand. This is because we would like to do more, through partnership. It's not just about capacity, but it's about spreading, our developmental capabilities and developmental impact on a greater geographical area. So this is as well why partnership is also big. Dr. Mabuda, he spoke as well about the partners that we have under the program. He spoke about Badia, he spoke about African Development Bank, and so on and so forth. These are entities that we are proud of us joining hands with them in order for us to do more across the geography in Africa and globally as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osama, for the very clear answer and clarifying the different levels of partnerships, whether in regarding to making deals happen, with regard to increasing the capacity and emphasizing on ISIC role of being a catalyst. Second question addressed to your Excellency deals specifically with ISIC response regarding COVID-19, and that we are going now into the second phase of the response. I believe the person asking the question is familiar of the IDB group response, the R1, R2, R3. So they are asking specifically about the ISIC role in the R2 phase.
Thank you. Let me say that we are seeing here that R1, R2, and R3, for everybody that is listening, they are the 3 Rs that we have undertaken ourselves as a group for the initial response, and then for the midterm response to long-term response, and then R3 for us to rebuild and to go into the third and last phase of the intervention of the group. I strongly believe that R2 and R1 are intertwined, and we are still dealing with the R1 effect. Reason because the impact that we are seeing at the level of the membership at the group level, ISDB group level, varies from region to region and from country to country. And this is something that I do believe that we are still addressing the issue of the R1 for the immediate needs, because we see now that some countries are going into the second stage of the pandemic, and there is still lack of medical necessities and equipments. They are still lacking the strategic goods that are needed to sustain the economy to go, and for them to help and to support local and small entities. So we are seeing still the R1 and the R2, in my opinion, that are intertwined, while we are entering the second phase of the R2 that is becoming more and more complex with the introduction of the vaccine. And at the same time, we need to deal with the repercussions on the economy on the ground to see how we are going to start jump-starting the economies of the member countries that are there. And under R2, we have signed as of recently, and with His Excellency the President on behalf of ISDB, the $2 billion COVID guarantee facility, where ISEC will be supporting, in the tune of about 70% of the risks that are being undertaken, at the level of the membership and at the level of ISDB, where we are providing level of guarantees and insurance in order to support, the programs that have been identified with specific member countries at the level of the IDB group. R2 is complex, and this is something that I always talk to my brother, Engineer Hani, CEO of ITFC. The complexity that we have seen in dealing with the R1 is going to be magnified when we are going into the R2, part of the equation. Projects have been defined in respect of starting these economies, sector and industries and countries as well. Priority is being given to countries that are willing to go under the platform that we are putting together to help and to support the economies. At the same time, countries that they are willing to work with us in respect of specific projects that are geared toward jump-starting the economy and affecting the SMEs, affecting the infrastructure of these countries for the medium and the long term of the business. The other issue that has been discussed very recently at the level of the group, and very, very important, that is in the back mind of all of us, which is the fair distribution of the vaccine. We are seeing right now that there's shortage of vaccine even in the countries that are producing these vaccines. The group is taking an extremely forward steps and thinking in respect of how we can support member countries in acquiring the vaccine. Is it through the support of the production? Is it through subsidy? Is it going to be through insurance solutions that we are going to be utilizing? And as such, we are working with UN organs. We are working as well with different multilateral institutions and international financial institutions on ways and means where we can cooperate in order for us to make sure that the fair distribution of the COVID vaccine reaches our member countries and serves to help lives and secure the safe transition from R1 to R2 to R3, where we can put, inshallah ta'ala, this mega crisis that hit all of us, specifically on the physical and economic way, into rest and start looking at jump-starting the economies in a proper fashion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Osama, for the clarification and the detailed answer. Now we move to the questions addressed to His Excellency, CEO ITFC, Engineer Hani Salim Sumbul. The first question indicates that the AATB started back in 2017, and it has been proving day after day to be an effective tool and an effective mechanism to promote and enhance trade between the Arab and African countries. However, as of January 1st, 2021, the CFTA came into effect, and Your Excellency has alluded to that in your keynote address. On a strategic level, how does Your Excellency see the AATB would play a role in supporting the member countries implement the CFTA?
Well, simply, I think simply not because the CFTA is the largest actually agreement now since the establishment of the WTO, but because of the comprehensive items that it covers. As you can see now, this agreement is not just related to tariffs or maybe barriers that we used to see in preferential agreements or any other agreements, but actually it tackles many issues that will be of an importance to really have a big market like Africa. Talking about labor, cross-borders labors, talking about the they call property the property. What is the Excuse me?
Right.
Yes, and many others, you know, but excuse me, I think the Arab-Africa trade bridge, you know, with this diversity and with this very unique setup, tackling all aspects that will be definitely linked to the future development of Africa. You're talking about now financing, trade finance, you talk about investment, insurance, you talk about pillars like major sectors like the infrastructure sector, which is very much needed for Africa. We're talking about vital sectors like now the agricultural sector. All of these all what we are really offering through the Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program falls within the vital you know, needs or the pressing needs of Africa. You know, we were not really accommodating this COVID-19 before it happens, because nobody knew really that such a crisis will really impact really the world. But believe it or not, Africa has came a long way, and many countries, they have really started to introduce reforms preparing for the new free trade area, and that really created some sort of a buffer for so many of the countries in Africa. The growth in Africa was really amazing over the years. You can see countries that are growing by 7, 8, 9%, and that is quite impressive. And despite of that, you know, heavy impact of the crisis, I think the African markets are operating actually and actually responding to the COVID-19 very well. The Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program, as I said, through the products and the tools that it provides, through the diversity, through the partners who are really now, everybody has his own area of specialty. If we look at the IDB group, where we actually a very unique group as well, we complement each other in many different areas, whether in the public sector or private sector. So definitely that we can serve actually much better. Synergy is high among the group. In addition to what my dear brother CEO Isaac was saying, Sir Osama, is that the partnership and collaboration is very important. Since day one, we realized that there should be really a strong partnership because the gaps are big and huge, and we require really to get everybody under the umbrella of the Arab Africa Trade Bridge and make them work together and make them actually collaborate together so that we can meet this huge gap. And I don't think one institution can do it all. We were very pleased also to see that the secretariat of the CFTA was already created, and we already started as a group contacting the secretariat. We are working on programs to make sure that we reach to the objective, as we say, enhancing integration and the economic development of Africa. So the program is promising. In the past years, we have seen also member countries who joined the program or they hold the observer status. They're actually really giving this program high importance. I have not met a single governor or an official who did not really believe in what the Arab Africa Trade Bridge can do for Africa, because of the reasons that I mentioned. Because we know, countries know that the different products, and as I said, this diversity can really make a difference in the. I think the R2 and R1, as mentioned, in R1, definitely Arab Africa Trade Bridge program was very much important contributor by providing the fast or the pressing needs. But also, I think in R2, where we are striving actually to revive the economies of member countries, is very important to see that the Arab Africa Trade Bridge, with all the tools that we have and products and partnership or partners, I am sure that we will do also great in the R2 and R3, and I am sure the IDB group will do also will complete this, hopefully this program with a great success. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for the comprehensive answer that even touched upon the second question that we were having and the question that we had in line. The question was about your good self-assessment of the AATB response to the COVID-19. The speed with which the program responded, did it respond with the needed speed? Are you satisfied with the R1? And what can we expect from the AATB in R2 in helping the member countries recover?
Definitely, as I said, we are very much satisfied with what we did as a group for the R1, the response phase, and we are well prepared now also for the R2. So I do expect that we will continue to see some really impact on the ground. Member countries, as I said, they realize that. All what we need, as I said, is to enhance our cooperation, and also for member countries who believe or who actually examined the success stories in the past from the program. I call really for all these countries really to join the program, and because this as we have seen from the presentation this morning, there are so many benefits that they can really gain from joining this program. And I don't want to miss saying that the private sector, maybe this will be also elaborated more by dear CEO ICD and Mr. Ayman Sajini. The private sector role in the coming R2 and R3 is extremely important. And we cannot really work, especially in Africa. I think as we can see that the private sector already is playing a big role. And now we expect really to see more and more. What we can do from Arab Africa Trade Bridge Program is to stimulate and to facilitate and to promote so that we can back all the efforts that is going to be exerted by the private sector.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now we move to His Excellency CEO ICD, Mr. Ayman Sajini. Mr. Ayman, we have two questions out of the many questions that we received. The first one is that given the COVID-19 situation, although there are difficulties, but with every difficulty, an opportunity arises. So are we going to see some sort of a platform organized by ICD to show the investment opportunities in the Arab Africa region for the financial institutions? Is this something that we expect to see from ICD?
Sure. Well, thank you very much again for giving the opportunity to give further details. Regarding the platform, we as a group, as ISTB, have pledged 2.3 billion to combat the COVID-19, of which 250 million is from ICD, which we will actually be using mainly in all the transactions that we have focused on are in medical sector or in the derivatives. Nevertheless, if we actually use it in sukuk issuance, it will actually further reduce the gap of what is needed, because the amounts could become much larger and maybe have larger effectiveness on it. Meanwhile, we as ICD, we have created the bridge platform, as I have mentioned earlier, and the bridge platform will have the connection of 119 financial institutions that are in our member countries, of which 42 of those financial institutions are alone in Africa, which will be a great way of connecting with all these financial institutions, be able maybe to trade between each other, export to each other. We'll be able to provide the right financing on the ground with the right credit background checks on most of the clientele base that could be actually using this platform. So we are very much excited to really provide this service, inshallah, to our member countries.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We have another question also relating to creation of new investment opportunities, specifically for governments. As governments are suffering now from the repercussions of COVID-19, their budgets have been affected. So governments themselves will be looking for other sources of revenues. So how can ICD, under the umbrella of AATB, help governments create additional revenues by creating new investment opportunities?
Well, basically, ICD is going to be focusing on COVID combating transactions or investment opportunities, which the governments could actually highlight to us depending from one government to another. But we're definitely willing to evaluate and see in our capabilities how we could service it and really provide the right outcome for what is needed. Nevertheless, with the partnership of our group as ISTB, ITFC, ISIC, and ICD, we are definitely targeting the partnership with other multilateral institutions, which we all really figured out and found out that the more we work together, the more we're going to be effective, the more we'll be able to really complete what is needed in each of the government. And I think that's really the important underlying requirement.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. We wish to extend the time more, but we have already arrived to 2 hours. It really has flown away with so many questions unanswered, both through Zoom as well as through YouTube. However, we will be reaching out to everyone who sent the question with answers from the technical teams. And unfortunately, we do not have time to take questions for the technical teams, but answers will be provided. Finally, we thank you for joining us this afternoon or this morning or evening, depending on where you are watching us. We hope that it had given you an opportunity to understand more about the Arab-Africa Trade Bridges Program and the potential that this program can unleash for you as a financial institution, or depending on whatever your type of institution is. We will be sharing a survey link for you to give us your feedback on how the webinar went, as well as for our future improvement of our future events. Finally, we thank you again for joining us, and we kindly ask all the panelists to open their cameras and smile for a group photo. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. And we hope that you have enjoyed this informative webinar, and see you in a future webinar soon, inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.